Welcome to the Fleet News Group podcast. This episode, we're joined by Scott Maynard, Managing Director of Polestar Australia, exactly 12 months after stepping into the role. With a background in luxury car brands, Scott brings a unique perspective on how the Polestar brand is reshaping expectations around premium performance and sustainability. We'll talk about his first year in the hot seat, the role Polestar played in the NVES debate ahead of the 2025 federal election, and how the latest models like the Polestar 3 and 4 are changing the way Australian drivers view electric vehicles. We'll also unpack the power of novated leasing and what's coming next from the Polestar's global lineup. So, Scott, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much, Mark. Great introduction, and thanks for having me on your show.
It's really, I suppose, topical now with the NVES kicking in. But before we get into that, it is 12 months since you took on the role as Managing Director of Polestar. So what stands out for you, maybe personally or professionally, and since then?
It's been a really exciting time, and not just inside Polestar. I've been in the automotive industry, as you related just a moment ago, pretty much my whole life. I've never seen the industry change as much or as fast as it is at the moment. I find that really exciting, and I love it. Professionally, I reckon it's been probably one of the busiest 12-month runs I've had. We've moved offices, we've partnered with retailers and changed our selling model. We've opened new spaces, launched 2 new models. We've added some members to the team to build the capacity here for the growth that we're experiencing. So that's all been really exciting. Personally, I've enjoyed the return to luxury and performance in an automotive brand, and I've gained a lot from embracing Polestar's really unique approach to the industry, the way it goes about that, and also the authentic approach it brings to issues like climate and people.
Yeah, it is a bit different, and I suppose it must be a bit of you work with some of the most prestigious brands in the world, so it must be a bit of a shift moving to a company like Polestar that places sustainability at the core of it, not only its brand, but its business strategy. So has that been a difference you've noticed?
It has, and a refreshing one. I think more and more customers these days are placing value against the credentials that brands like Polestar can show in sustainability, and particularly in business. Businesses big and small are mandating a shift to electric vehicles. They're seeking to have an agenda to lower their environmental footprint and in a measurable way, and that comes with careful considerations when a business hooks its reputation to particular brands in its transport solutions. They're quite right to be a little bit cautious about that choice, and make sure that there's no chance of backlash from coupling to a brand that makes bold claims in sustainability that later are shown to perhaps not been well founded or to have acted improperly. And so the level of reporting, the transparency and the independent verification of those reports that a brand like Polestar can put up, I think really assists in some of those customers to make those sorts of choices, and that works well for us.
Yeah, I was reading the 2024 sustainability report as part of preparing for our catch up, and one of the interesting quotes in there was, "We do not have a sustainability strategy; we have a sustainable business strategy." That sort of says it all there, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. There was another quote in there, I think, from the CEO, which was, "Our job is to make the desirable choice the right choice." That report showed that Polestar had pulled back its per vehicle emissions by 16% year on year and by 25% from base year. And it is, as you suggest, something that gets pushed into our vehicles right at the design phase. So right from the moment they're looking at what they would design, say, the superstructure of the dash with, careful choices are made around materials, right up to we all then report things like impacts on logistics and how we can reduce and improve those. And I know lots of businesses are doing things like that, but it is taken so seriously because it is considered that there is a very tangible business output to doing those things right and being able to demonstrate them in a way that has been independently verified. It actually does attract a different style of business and quite a unique one with flow-on benefits that go right to the P&L.
So, how does that locally get applied, that philosophy, the global philosophy, and as you said, right through from I suppose, the first sketch of a vehicle by the sound of it. Locally, how do you apply that same philosophy?
Yeah, so that's helpful to us when we're speaking to customers, both private and in fleet, to be able to demonstrate those values, and to be able to show that we're a responsible business partner. And it also crosses over into things like people treatment, stand on modern slavery, all of those types of increasingly important issues, both environmental and social, that definitely assists us when we're speaking to our business customers. It also assists us right on the showroom floor when we're speaking with our retail customers to be able to demonstrate those values that would, in many cases, align with their own, and in a way that I think is quite unique to the way those values might be represented by lots of competing brands.
Yeah, I do remember writing a story several years ago when Polestar came to the market and saying that there'll be a point where you're not just choosing electric vehicle based on the powertrain, because everyone will have them. You'll be choosing it based on their core philosophy, which the sustainability aspect. So it sounds like that's happening in the dealerships today.
More and more now, there are more and more customers that go into that second level of questions, that ask more detailed questions about materials used and how they're sourced, and call on us to be able to demonstrate that. So, and the exact same thing happens in fleet and business. There is a life cycle assessment report that's produced for each of the models that we sell that details exactly what its environmental impact is, right throughout its life. And it considers everything down to how many pollen filters will the car get, will it need a windscreen, how many sets of tyres go on it, and then chart out exactly what its environmental impact will be over its lifetime, as compared to something similar in a petrol or diesel configuration. I think those have been valuable tools for us.
Yeah, we've got a couple of articles on Fleet EV News sharing that, and so yeah, it's really good for our readers. Mm. So let's move on to, I don't know if it's the elephant in the room, but it's certainly getting a lot of press, at the moment, the NVES. There was serious pushback from the anti-EV lobby and other manufacturers leading up to the 2025 federal election, but Labor won. They've been quite firm that no changes, they're pushing ahead with it. What was Polestar's role in that public discussion, and how do you view the level of understanding or misunderstanding around EVs in Australia today?
Yeah, so Polestar went on record a number of times in support of the new vehicle efficiency scheme, or NVES, and worked quite closely with the Electric Vehicle Council to lobby government and industry on the benefits, not just benefits to environment, but benefits to customers as well, by switching to vehicles that are, in many cases now, on price parity with their petrol and diesel compatriots, but also are far less expensive to own and operate. So we're pushing really hard on that agenda. I don't think we're ever going to match the voice of some of the large OEMs that were railing against that policy and its implementation. That was always going to be a big job. But it was really pleasing to see, as you just suggested, that the scheme got through, that it survived relatively unscathed. And so we now absolutely move to improving that level of understanding, as you called it. It's growing, it's definitely growing, and it's improving, but we've still got a way to go yet about busting some of the myths that are commonly associated with EVs and EV ownership.
Yeah, the next question I was going to ask was about how do you deal with it when people say they're too expensive, when they say there's no infrastructure or it's complicated. But I'm more interested, like, you must feel like you're battling that every day. Do you get fatigued trying to sort of defend the category?
One of the amazing things about working in this brand is you really are always surrounded by some really passionate and enthusiastic people. So the fatigue hasn't set in yet, Mark. I still reckon I've got plenty of those explanations still left in me to go. And there seems to be more of a listening ear, and a welcoming on the other side, to hear some of that. So it's a chat worth having, and there are more and more customers that are wanting to have that chat about EV. But some of those myths that you talk about, some of them may have been the case once, but the industry's moved on, technology's moved on, and so they've been dispelled in time. And some were simply not true right from the beginning, as is the case when almost any new technology is introduced. There will be degrees of that creep in, and a bit of skepticism. Uh, the EVs that are sold today are in many cases on price parity with a comparative car, similar size, similar spec. And we've also seen EVs now enter some of the larger and key markets in Australia, like SUV, instead of building just smaller cars. And there's so much more information now that backs the claims that suggest that they are cheaper to own. They're cheaper to maintain. They've got far less moving parts, and they do enjoy excellent reliability. So there's lots to talk about when we're asked those questions now, more than there has been in the past, and that makes it easier.
Yeah. I don't, probably don't want to bring it up, but I just can't help myself. I've been travelling to Canberra and Newcastle frequently the last 3 or 4 weeks. And on that drive, going to Canberra and then going to Newcastle from Sydney, every time I see a burnt out car on the side of the road, and it's never an EV. I don't know what happens on those roads, but it's been frequent the last couple of, and there's always burnt out cars, and they're always ICE vehicles. So, I think those myths, really need to get. People just need to stop promoting them, I think.
Well, they're just not supported by statistics or fact. So we know now that the instances of electric vehicle fires are so small, not just smaller than petrol and diesel vehicles in total, but smaller per capita as well. So they are far less likely to do what we're talking about. And it is one of those crucial pieces of information that just needs to get out there.
Yeah, and it keeps me chuckling along for the next 2 hours of my drive anyway.
There's a story in there somewhere.
Yeah. So moving on to sort of new product and product evolution. So the Polestar 4 was launched this year, and not only is it your fastest car to date, I think it's 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds. It also has the lowest carbon footprint in the lineup. So what's the response been to a performance car like that with such great sustainability credentials?
Had a really pleasing response to Polestar 4. To be building larger and faster cars that are more luxuriously appointed and sit in a higher spec, and then to be able to do that with a carbon footprint that's about 20% less than the car that comes before it is significant. And it's something that seems to be really well received by our customers. So Polestar 4 now makes up about 70% of our order intake. It is now by far the number one selling model that we sell. And yeah, it as you've kind of referenced, it seems to be a combination of the tech in the car, its looks. It's got some great range numbers. And that carbon footprint helps it as well. So that seems to be working really nicely for us. It's been a great addition to the range.
Yeah, fantastic. And the Polestar 5 is coming in 2025. You've got Polestar 7, which I think is going to be the brand's first compact SUV. What can you tell us about these models and when they might arrive and how they'll fit into the offering in the Australian market?
Exciting to see Polestar 5, which is going to be a real hero car. That'll be a halo model for us. And I was fortunate about 5 weeks ago in Sweden, I got to have a drive of Polestar 5, and it's unbelievably quick, but it's a performance car that is built for the road. So they're not hunting an out and out 0 to 100 time. I think anything under 3 seconds just starts to hurt after a while. But this is a car that will be competently quick in terms of its ride, its handling, its brakes, and it'll be a real powerhouse. So excited to bring Polestar 5 to market. We've had a sneaky little Polestar 5 in Australia for testing for the last 3 months, and we've had engineers from R&D in Sweden out here piloting that car to do a series of tests locally, and it's great to see Polestar testing locally in Australia for Polestar 5. And then Polestar 7. So we'll see Polestar 5 go on sale right at the back part of this year for first customer handovers in the first half of 2026. And then we'll get Polestar 7, and there's a lot of work being done on Polestar 7 now. Some of the concepts of that car are looking really sharp. We've just announced that it will be produced in Europe, so it will be a car that will be exported here direct from our plant in Europe. and it will, as you say, be a compact SUV. That's important for us. We don't have an entrant in compact SUV. That makes up, well, currently year to date, it's 16% of the new car market in Australia, so it's a sizable chunk. And it will be a proper Polestar, so it'll be a luxury performance car. It'll hold those trademarks of Polestar being exceptional design, and it'll be backed by the sort of sustainability credentials that everyone comes to know our models for. So yeah, we're really excited to see some of those new products come to this market.
Yeah, definitely. And so just going back to, you mentioned about the local testing, that's a big evolution for a manufacturer to a new brand. Like Polestar's not a new brand anymore, but when you've got the engineers here doing local testing, that's a big sort of stamp of credibility, isn't it?
It's a fantastic standard of credibility, and it's also an indication of just how important Polestar views Polestar 5 as being here in Australia to put that kind of effort and those sorts of logistics into getting a car all the way to Central Australia for testing really does show that we're a priority market. Polestar on a global scene sits in position 10 at the moment, so we're a top 10 market for Polestar globally based on our first half performance, and so it's great to see that backed up by support from our Swedish head office.
Yeah. So talking about sales performance, the FBT exemption with Novated Leasing must be a boon for Polestar. So what impact has it had on the growth locally over the last 18 months now?
Yeah, it probably occupies about 60% of our orders. So about 60% of our customers would novate a car. So it's a sizable mix of sales. And so it is a very important part of the business for Polestar. And so the savings make sense, and it's a great way to purchase an electric vehicle. There's lots of advantages to novating a car and being able to capitalise on that FBT exemption for vehicles that sit under the luxury car tax. It's something that is still gaining recognition from customers that are looking at various ways to be able to finance their way into an electric vehicle of any brand, really. And so whilst it's the novated lease side of the business is growing considerably, I think it's still got a way to go as the recognition of that method of buying continues to pick up.
Yeah, I'm just going to give a plug for our annual Novated Leasing Guide. We've been producing it since 2016, and the whole idea is to try and educate and let people know of the benefits. So the last 12 months, I actually hear people talking about Novated Leasing in the street. So, it is gaining some traction, but still so underutilised by new car buyers.
Your guide sounds like an important read. I wasn't fully across just how novated lease works, and I've been in the industry for many years, and so I can well understand why so many of our consumers perhaps don't quite cotton onto it and don't even consider it until they're well down the path of buying a car.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to some other things. Another thing that's really hot at the moment, V2G or bi-directional charging. That's every energy expo I go to. That's all people want to hear about. Is it the Polestar 3 that's going to have bi-directional charging? And V2G, is that what it's going to have?
Yes. Yeah. So Polestar 3 will gain that. And this is a really excellent example of the sorts of things that electric vehicles can do that no other drivetrain can. And so it's great to see electric vehicles poised to play a really important part in future energy needs across Australia. Bi-directional charging represents a huge opportunity for private and fleet buyers to couple their vehicles to their electricity supply. Australia has the fastest uptake of rooftop solar, and so for cars that are able to be charged this way, it makes sense that owners can then store power during the day if they're able to pull that car up, and then either sell it back to the grid at a time when wholesale prices are high, or run their homes and businesses off that when the sun goes down. If you consider that your average home battery could have a capacity of somewhere around 20 kilowatts, you could have a car parked in the garage. We're talking about Polestar 3, that's got a 111 kilowatt battery in it. So it absolutely overshadows any kind of home battery you could have. That's some serious storage power.
Yeah. Several days during a blackout or a cyclone there to run out.
Precisely, yeah. And you're already starting to hear stories like that around the utilisation of electric vehicles in situations like that.
Yeah, and is it something that buyers are talking about when they're asking? Are they aware that the Polestar 3 is coming with that, or are you yet to kind of really fully announce that to the market?
We're still yet to fully announce it or just to confirm exactly how and when, but we know that it's coming, and it is something that not too many customers are asking about yet, but a growing number are expressing an interest in it. So it's cottoning on, and more people want to know about it now.
All right, I'm going to call it a Fleet News Group exclusive then. That's going to be my headline.
Yep, take that one.
All right. Well, just sort of finishing off, we've covered a lot of stuff today, but it's really been great getting your insights, especially with the experience in the automotive industry and then now with Polestar. But the big question on everyone's lips, and certainly our fleet audience, because they're under a lot of pressure. A lot of them have targets to hit net zero, but they don't really have plans or any, they haven't really started planning for it yet. So do you have a feel for when we'll hit a tipping point for EVs in Australia and when they'll become maybe the default rather than the alternative, if you had to look out long term?
I love the fact that you call it a tipping point, I think is what you just said. I use the same kind of terminology. I say that it'll hit a critical mass. Look, it's going to happen at different times for different buyer groups. We've seen the early adopters come through. Now we're starting to see it move into mainstream, and we are also starting to see it move into business circles. Business circles seem to be picking up EV now almost faster than private buyers. Private buyers seem to be picking up EV in the outer suburbs, perhaps because they've got better access to rooftop solar rather than high-density housing. It's really interesting to see how different buyer groups and different buyer types are picking up EV at different rates. But it's quite clear that it is starting to gather pace. Yeah, quite slowly, but it's gathering pace. So we see electric vehicles in Australia currently occupying 7.6% of the total industry volume. That's for the year to date, and that number has been slowly ratcheting up during each month of the year. It's now finally growing faster than it did for the whole of 2024 when we saw a 7.4% penetration of electric vehicles. So we're getting there. What's it going to take? One of the things that I think are important is stability in government policy. We've touched on FBT today, and we look at the FBT subsidy that's been applied to utes now for 20 years. That's amassed billions of dollars in government support to the point now where we see 3 out of 5 of our top-selling vehicles as utes, and we're now registering 1.5 utes for every tradie in the country. So
wow.
It's clear that kind of incentivisation in the market works. It makes perfect sense to now apply that kind of incentivization to electric vehicles, which will give us cleaner air and a cheaper vehicle that customers can own and operate it. So I think that's the sort of thing it'll take, coupled with the usual kind of responses that we would hear, like the continued development of charging infrastructure, which is getting better almost every day now, as not just government but private operators step in to enhance our global network, Australia-wide network of charge points.
Yeah, I think that FBT exemption for utes, so the way it works, FBT works with commercial vehicles, it's probably misunderstood. And I certainly know our fleet audience, a lot of them have gone to utes to reduce FBT liability when they could be driving a small car or a medium SUV. So yeah, it certainly has skewed the purchasing towards utilities.
It has, and you wouldn't blame them for doing it, but it now means that we've got a disproportionate number of vehicles which are quite clearly not being used as tool of trade. And I understand why the government would be hesitant to take it away. We need to support our trades and we need to support industry, but I think that support's spilled well over into buyers that don't need those cars.
Yeah, a lot in the school pickup line that haven't carried a tool ever.
There are, Mark, that's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful chat, and I appreciate you making the time to talk on the Fleet News Group podcast. giving us an honest look at the challenges and opportunities of leading a car company that's serious about sustainability. If our listeners want to hear more, this is our fourth season of the Fleet News Group podcast. So we've got plenty of other interviews and conversations with leaders from the automotive and fleet industry you can listen to. And also, our quarterly magazine, All Things Fleet, the July issue's out now. You can pick it up at Qantas Club lounges and events around the country. So that's a bit of my sign-off, Scott. So thank you very much for being our guest.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me on your show and allowing me to speak with your listeners. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. So you can listen to the podcast, and you're probably already listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but you can also go to YouTube and see some of our car review videos as well. We're not the prettiest, but we're entertaining. So make sure you check out our YouTube channel as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.